This time I'm going to be looking at this project of Outpost that I've created. Um, we start on the main menu here, which I'm very proud of. This is a place in the world that I've created, the map, um, the cabin. This is the first structure I've made in this world. It's a large world, big project that I wanted to create that I started here in uni. And yeah, I'd like to eventually create multiple backgrounds for every time you load up the game, just loads of random background. But this currently is the one that I have got, and yeah, this is the main menu. I like the simple aesthetic of it. Could have changed it around, I guess. Maybe added tiled buttons. I'm not sure, but I think it looks pretty good as it is. Currently, no options or extras. Also, can't quit the game from this button, but we can play. Press play here. It'll load up the scene of the game, which is intended to be a multiplayer horror game in the style of somewhat battle royale or infection game mode. So yeah, if we walk up to the torch here, we can hear noise. I've added that. Also footsteps, so if I walk out and be quiet, then you can hear my footsteps here. Yeah, I do. Oh, I did intend to mask out the player's body here. Unfortunately, I didn't get time to do that, but I would like to do that. But I have added in the animations for walking, so if I look down, you can see that the animations are there for the multiplayer aspect, as well as the animations for aiming. And not quite done with the shooting, but there is a small animation there of just a bit of recoil. And if you see in the bottom left, I do have a clip and a reserve. It's not in the actual game yet, there's no UI for it, but there is a comment there. So if I fire, that clip will go down to 4, 3, 2, 1, and then once it's at 0, and press R to reload, and that will take out the reserve. So the functionality is somewhat in there, but it's definitely not done yet. But yeah, this is the gist of the game. If I come out of that now, I can show you some of the code. So if I come to other here, scene changer, that was what loaded when I press play. It simply just went to the next scene. Or I can load a specific scene here if I needed to at any point have a menu where you want to load different scenes. I'm not sure what other scenes there would be, but possibly that would be different maps. But no, there was no intent on creating a new map from the start anyway. But it's nice to have it there just in case. But yeah, that's what happens when you press that play button. The input manager here is very complicated, but essentially this is our current controls that we've got here. But yeah, still quite complicated, but all it really does is change a public variable, which we then read on the player controller, for example, to actually create the movement. But that's all this does, is get the inputs and gives a value to a public variable. That's the input manager there. Yeah, I don't believe there's any more other here. If I go into player, we've got the player controller. By far the biggest piece of code I have on this. So we have all the variables up here, just a few for the inputs and stuff. Yeah, the parameters. They're just set variables, and the internal variables, which will be just used for calculations and moving around within the code, they will be changing. So they are these internal variables. There's a lot of them, but they're required. For example, a lot for the head bobbing, as that requires a lot of maths. Yeah, and then have a look at the look. We have this just controls your mouse movement to the head movement, looking around, and it'll actually move the whole body. I know some games actually manage to, you can move the head slightly, but it won't move the whole body until you keep going. Which is, I could look into that at some point, but for this project it's way too complicated. So this just keeps the body angled at whatever way you're looking at through input of your mouse. And we did add look sensitivity here to change it in game, because all the modern games are changing their look sensitivity in game rather than making the user change it manually on their mouse. So yeah, that's what this does. And I've added a clamp here as well to create make sure that they can't rotate any further than vertical. Looking up, I didn't have that at the start because I completely forgot about it, and it got very weird trying to control the way you're looking with your mouse. So that's why that's added there. If I take that off now, got the movement script. This simply does everything such as crouching, walking, jumping, and it changes your velocity here depending on the slope that you're on. So if you're walking up a slope, you will slow down, and possibly down a slope as well, I think. I'm not sure if we change the multiplier depending on what way you're looking on the slope. I don't think we did. Crouch here, this will change the height of the collider, as well as the position of the head and camera. So you're looking at, it will also, I believe, it will probably, it won't on this, but in the player animation controller, this one here, when you are crouching, which is a public variable, as we saw from the input manager, that will create the animation of you crouching as well. So yeah, but this does all the logistics, and then the player animation controller will just do the animation. But yeah, we go back here. That does all that movement. The head bob is all a lot of maths with just sine waves making you bob basically left to right, up and down at the exact time you need to create the bobbing of your head for each footstep. And we've added a sound for the footsteps each time you get to the peak of each side. Once you're as far right as that animation goes, it will play a footstep. Same with the left. That creates a really nice little balance there. And the head bob can be changed. It can be put to 0 if need be. That would be a setting that we'd have in the game. Definitely, just so people don't have to have that. It can make some people feel ill. But we can also make it worse. So I mean, that would be a slider that we'd have in the game, if necessary. But yeah, it's just a lot of maths really. There's nothing really to go through. It's just sine waves and playing the sounds. Yeah. Vision handlers. That's just checking whether you're jumping or what slope you're on or anything like that. That's just double checking where you are essentially in terms of the ground. That's important to make sure that we know when you're on a slope to slow you down, and we know when you're in the air so we won't let you jump again. Yeah, that's very important there. Yeah, that's all that is there for the player controller there, and the player animation, of course, is exactly the same. I have this switch here. The movement compass essentially means if you're looking forward, then movement compass will be, and you're moving forward, movement compass will be 1. you're looking forward, which you always are, of course, but you're moving backward, then the movement compass would be 5. So this is the degrees, I believe, that you're moving compared to what you're looking at. So yeah, that just changes the animation depending on do I want an animation of you walking forward? Do I want an animation of you walking back? That's what that calculates there, and then it'll play the right animation from that compass. I believe that, yeah, it's based off this forward angle, which I believe is calculated in this comparing movement here. Now it just looks at where you're moving compared to where you're looking. So yeah, that's that there. And just creating the crouching, and this late update here with the funny comment. I did this. This is very. You can see the floats are very odd numbers. That was just simply trial and error to get the hand and the gun in the right place for the animations. That was very difficult, I must say. And that's why I just said, I don't know what happens, but don't change it. It will break. I feel like every project has at least one of that type of code anyway. So yeah, the weapon controller here, we have a lot of this, but this is simply just does exactly what I showed you earlier: the reloading and the firing. And there's no functionality of actually firing anything yet. There is a raycast of where it goes, but there isn't anything that actually shoots, and we can register it at the moment. But we will do, definitely. But yeah, that's just the weapon controller there, and we will have a lot of different things you can change. So we'll have different types of weapons. So where you have a sniper, where the hip fire bloom, for example, would be large, as well as the recoil. But of course the damage would be high. So yeah, we just make sure to we've got loads of different variables to create loads of different types of guns. At the moment, there's only the pistol. That's all it is. And along with the Fortnite phrase, along with that battle royale kind of feel, we've got the green, blue, purple, orange types of weapons here. That could change, but that in terms of the actual colours or what they're called or anything, but there are definitely tiers of the weapons that we can create, and yeah, that's what that would be. We've also got the weapons sway here. This is actually almost exactly the same as the head bob. Almost just copy pasted. It's just added recoil and put onto the gun instead of the camera under the head. Yeah, that's what that is. We've got the tree animation range here. This very simple. It just stops the animation of the leaves moving once you're 20 meters out, and stops rendering them entirely at 50 meters out. With the darkness of the game, you're not going to see anything near that at 50 meters. So that was easily an easy value to pick, and that just helps frame rate by a mile because there's so many trees in this game. So I placed manually, in fact, which is probably a poor choice. There was probably a better way of doing it, but that is how I did it, and there are, you see, a load of trees. It was not the smartest move that I've made. In fact, everything is placed manually in this map, which, I mean, adds a sense of personality to it, but at the same time made it far too long to create. Over here I'd have a dam, which there's no mountain here, and to create a whole structure there. But yeah, that's the map. A lot of trees, they will unrender once you're 50 meters out, which you cannot see in the slightest. So yeah, maybe that would have to change once I add a sniper into the game. Maybe that would have some night vision ish, just go a little bit further than normal render distance. But yeah, that's what I do. So that's all this does. Is change the shaders, or just unrender it completely. Unrender the actual renderer in Unity. Here you can see I've brought up the animation window. Very complicated here, but this is simply just I probably wouldn't have it working like this, or I'd lay it out a lot better. But all this does is make sure that depending on what variable is changed, it just changes the animation from, for example, pistol strafe left, so just strafing left with the pistol in the hand. If this changed, it could go to backwards or to walking, or any of them straight away with a simple, just a small animation change smoothly that Unity does itself. Very nice. You can not do it smoothly, but that's what this this transition period is here. Is it just essentially calculates the middle point of the two animations, keyframes it through. But yeah, that's what that animation is. We have I brought in a lot of the assets used in this game are not created by me. They were in the last videos. Some of those were created by me, such as the ship and the buildings and stuff. They were created by me, but in this project, that isn't true. I used assets for the ground as well as the trees and the buildings. Yeah, I may have created some things, but I don't think I can name anything off the top of my head right now. In terms of the physical 3D modeling, I don't think I created any of those. They were either free assets or very cheap paid out. But yeah, that's the end of me showing around this project. It took a long time to create. There is a lot of code that I had to work out, a lot of maths to do, and a lot of placing for trees really, but a lot of creating the world in general. Actually, it all took a long time. The trees actually comparable, but didn't actually take too long compared to the entire world to create, and the code to create as well. In fact, I don't think it was the longest thing that took to create. I think coding was definitely the bulk of the work here, especially with the animations and yeah, all of that firing of the weapons. Yeah, that definitely took a long time. Going back on it, I would definitely do a lot differently. Animations I'd do a lot differently. Hopefully do it smoother and easier. I'd have to look into that a bit more. But mainly I think the code on the whole was pretty good, and I'm quite proud of this project, and hopefully we'll continue to improve it in the future.